You're on.
Good evening and welcome to the Timberlane School Board meeting of January 5th, 2023. Happy New Year. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 7:01. So if we could have a roll call, please.
Sure. Sheila Lowe's.
Here.
Katie Knutson.
Here.
Shauna Manthorn.
Here.
Kim Farah.
She'll be arriving a little late.
Brian Boyle.
Here.
Kristen Savage.
She's excused.
Mark Sherwood.
Here.
Kim McCormick.
She's excused.
And Michael Boucher.
Here. Okay, if we could all rise for pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now I can get something.
First order of business here, approval of minutes. We have a couple sets of minutes here, public and non-public.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the December 15th public meetings draft.
Motion Sheila, is there a second?
I'll second.
And thank you. Discussion, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, there's a typo on page 8. The TTSU should be TSSU.
Ah, good catch.
There we go. Twice.
TSU.
TSSU.
TSSU.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, good catch. Any other comments on the minutes?
Also under that, my name appears to be missing. Under the very last one, the motion by Mrs. Savage
To go into non-public.
to go into non-public, and then I'm missing from the first poll for the non-public, but we'll get to that later too.
Did you pay your dues?
I feel like I'm paying them by pound of flesh.
Get those?
Good catch, yeah.
Okay. Chance you have to review them? All those in favor? Opposed? One abstention, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 0, 1. We have non-public same evening.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the non-public minutes from December 15.
Second that.
Second by Michael.
Where did you, are you on this too?
Yeah,
You-
the board told my name is missing as well, must have.
Oh, okay.
I see it was a yes down there.
But you were underneath.
I know, but under board poll.
Under board
Yep, the
poll
middle one.
initially,
Yeah.
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 You got those then? We good?
Good. Yeah.
Okay, ready to vote, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstention, same deal, 5, 0, 1. Pass
It's
those.
here to join us.
Well,
Excuse my reach, Kim. Not a problem.
alrighty.
Nice heated seats, I'm so jealous.
Okay, we have delegates and individuals. We have one person here this evening, Cara Malo.
Hi, I'm a parent in the district. I have two.
Could you just get up to the table there, please?
Public won't be able to hear you without the microphones.
I am just interested in learning more about the ESSER funds that have been allocated to the district and the 20% that was expected to be put toward hiring staff to train the teachers to help with the learning loss of the pandemic and how that's been done.
Well, to tell you the truth, Cara, this is, and the delegates and individuals, I respect your question, but usually it's not a question and answer type thing. It's usually a person, whether an employee or resident, will come in and express their concerns or and we'll look into something, but if you want to get in touch with the superintendent's office, I'm sure they'll be
I think
happy.
you've tried to reach out to me.
I did.
Yes,
I'm
so-
surprised I haven't heard from you. I'm a little disappointed about
Yeah, I
that.
apologize. I know you have a product that you're interested in
Well,
having us
I wasn't
explore.
here to really talk about it that much. However, I will, I have 3 minutes, so tell me when my time's up. As a mom of the 2 kids in this grade and a teacher of 17 years with a master's degree and a lot of experience and a small business owner in New Hampshire, I do have a pretty awesome curriculum that I was willing to even share with the district for free. But I am very upset that I haven't even been able to share what it is that I've created as a parent, knowing that, this tremendous learning loss that we have, and I'm doing an innovative thing to offer our students in the district, and I see a great need for what I've created, and I've been given a minimal chance of really being able to show what that is, and even, just an opportunity to talk and share about it. And if there's no interest, I understand, but having that one-on-one conversation would have been really appreciated, and I would have really.
Yeah, so I'll reach out and respond to you, and we'll set up a time that, not just myself, but I think, having Sandy Allaire, the Executive Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, and Justin Krieger, the Assistant
I'm
Superintendent.
just curious why I didn't get an email response, though.
Oh, listen,
Is my 3 minutes up? It's
Well,
okay.
well,
I'm
just- I'm
excited
not gonna-
about
I
that. I
don't-
just
I don't-
feel, as a parent, I just think it's just. I would think that we would embrace the innovative, approach of wanting to make a difference and at least hear me out. So that was a bit disappointing, but I'm looking forward to hopefully talking and maybe changing that vibe.
Great.
all right,
Thanks.
thank you. Looks like our student rep is not with us here this evening. Go right into our current business here. First, order of current business are open positions. We all have,
In your packet?
we all have in our packet. It's a very thick packet here this evening.
So, Brian, can I just interject here?
Sure.
Based on the comment that we just had, I would like to get an update on where we stand on usage of ESSER funds in a future meeting.
Sure,
Especially, including those for learning loss.
sure.
Sure. All righty. What we have in front of us here is, some lightness here, but this list, just in raw numbers, I see 44 open positions. Which I'm sure, and they're all over the map in terms of teachers, paraeducators, you name it, we've got it here. So, can you kind of give us a little briefing here, what's explanation? What's
Sure.
going on there?
What you'll see is the majority of the positions that are open are special education paraeducator positions. When you look down the list where it has the status, where you see SPED contracted services, special ed contracted services, that indicates those are currently positions while they've, given that they are still vacant, we are moving towards contracting with agencies to provide some of those supports. So we now have, and I'm looking at Kelly, she'll add to it if I miss anything, but, or correct me if I'm wrong, but there are a couple of agencies that we have engaged in a contract with to provide paraeducator supports, as well as some additional supports that were like behavior specialists, as board-certified behavior analysts, speech-language assistants, et cetera. So providing those related services for students based on positions that we've been unable to fill.
Okay, so you're gonna, there's 13 of those, so is it the plan to contract out all 13?
For the remainder of this year, and we'll continue to, we will re-advertise for next year in trying to fill those positions.
Okay, so you're only worried about,
We're worried about lots, but.
well, no,
You
no,
understand.
I'm on this list right now. I'm not going to go past this list. You're only, out of the vast number of TSSU positions that are open,
Yes,
you're not contracting all of them.
These are all that we're able to. So what this represents is the commitment of the funds from those positions towards contracted services. The agencies, they can't meet all of our needs.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at.
Yes. And even, I mean, that amount of funding that is based on these positions, we're utilizing that funding. Of course, it doesn't necessarily satisfy the same number of positions or people
Aware.
because we pay a higher rate.
I'm aware.
Right.
We've been down this road before.
Yes, I'm sure.
My next question is, who are you going through?
There's 5 different companies
Yeah.
that we're going through.
Okay. Are they companies that we've done business with before?
Some are.
Some are, and they're ones that surrounding SAUs have done business with. So it's not just a random California company that's coming in. It's
No, I understand, but we used to have a company that we contracted with that was not the greatest.
Well, no, but I don't think they're in existence anymore.
I don't know who the other.
Could you,
Yeah, we don't know.
why don't you get up to the table, please? That way. people at home-
Ceres is no longer doing contracted services,
They
are
do
they?
some, much
They're
less
still
than they
doing
used to
some.
do.
Okay.
They still do
So-
some for speech
Right.
and language. They
Yeah.
still do, they,
Not for this.
evaluations
what you're-
primarily.
No, we have Solient ProCare Therapy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. no.
That was
Okay.
my biggest question. My next question is, my friend over here, psych intern, speech language assistant. Any of these we can get interns for? And when?
Well, an intern would have to work underneath the supervision of a certified staff
I
member.
understand, but
But in terms of like the general process of us continuing to try to seek interns in our schools, it's still an ongoing process.
when do you think we'll be able to get
We have
somebody
our
on board?
We have our first OTA starting on the 9th, and then we've got 9 SNHU members that will start. Their first date will be the 29th or 24th of January. There's no one right now in a speech and language shoot for us.
The SNHU, the 9 of those teachers?
They're teaching, correct, special educators.
I love that. Okay.
We did have psych, not interns, but doing their practicum. We've had multiple ones of those. So,
Okay.
where people have been doing them.
I'm leading this question into when these kids actually get to graduate, maybe we'd be lucky enough to pick some of them up because they've been here.
We have, actually. We have, our new speech pathologist is a graduate of Timberlane. So they are coming back.
Well, I'm saying due to the internship.
Oh, yeah.
You get what I'm saying? That they have the feel for the place. If you offered them a job, they would be like, hey, this is great. That's why I was so in tune to these
Which is precisely
internships.
one of the 3 reasons that we're pursuing these things. They
Right.
could absolutely serve as a feeder for quality employees.
Okay. So that makes me happy. That makes me very happy.
And I think we have a pretty fair number of employees that were students here. We hear that a lot from our staff members, that's, helps with their commitment to the school district. They're Timberlane graduates, they came to
Well, I know
school
with
here.
my daughter, when she did her intern, she stayed at the same school and finished it out. The rest of the year, they hired her on.
Yeah.
So this is kind of my point, is that it's feeding, and we need that.
Well, one second, I'm just looking at numbers overall here. So I see 13 that you're working on contracting out, and the 16 TSSU paras that, since I've been on the board, we seem to have trouble filling these jobs. So this
Always.
is like, when I look at these positions, how long have they been unfilled?
Well, my understanding is that even though a position is not filled, especially a paraeducator, we still need to keep that position open and continue to try to fill it in order to meet the requirements set forth by the state for how we interact with special education students. You can't, just because you can't fill it, doesn't mean that it's not a required position. So that's why you've got to keep those on.
in addition to that, these aren't always the same positions. I can tell you, I
Okay.
received, a resignation just the other day, right? So some of them have been revolving, some have been filled, and then we'd have
Yeah,
to
we
go
only
with the whole
see it as
job count
one.
thing and
Yeah,
everything.
we
You just see
see it as a position, but it could be,
There've
last
been-
year there might have been 2 middle school, this year there might be 5 high schools, so.
Yes.
So these numbers then are tied to like the number of students that are in special ed. These are what Kim's saying, so these are pretty much required.
Combination of things, yes. So we have programs that are approved based on staffing ratios that include a teacher, that might include related service provider like a speech language path or a occupational therapist, but also that our program approval from the State Department of Ed does include paraeducators, for example, and ratios based on that. So some of these paraeducators may be, bless you, programmatic paraeducators that are part of a program that are vacant. Others may be, there are cases that a student, what you have to always do is reallocate. If we have a programmatic aid and we have a student that requires a one-to-one, you wind up reallocating programmatic aids to the one-to-one student to meet those student needs. Sometimes what happens is IEP teams take into consideration that the fact that this student has been without a paraeducator as a one-to-one, can it be a shared educator, a 1-to-2 ratio, and then they amend IEPs according to that. So it's a constant dance of trying to assign the appropriate staffing to the individual child as well as, groups of children and programs.
Okay, so when again, so the main purpose that I asked for this to be on the agenda, besides board members asking about it, is just to see what's going on here. We have, technically speaking, there's 44 open positions here, 13 looking to contract out, and looks like 16 are pretty much
We continue to try and fill.
contract fill, and then whatever this balance is, which is spread from music, nursing, custodian, whatever.
Well, I have a question on the open positions down on the bottom. What, TTA nurse, what is this position for that is open and continues to be open? What is that? What is it for? Is it for the middle school, the high school? Why do we have an open nurse position? Where is it?
you
Do we
remember
need
what-
it?
What cost center that comes from?
So I think this has to do with a position that was actually assigned to a student.
We did, at one point, have a
Yeah,
nurse
one-to-one
assigned to a student on a one-on-one basis. But if that's the case and that student is no longer here, we could,
Why are
because
we
I know
carrying
later on in the agenda, we're looking to
Yes.
have another, we could reallocate that position. We've also approved at the board level and at the budget committee has added 2 maintenance positions to the budget. So the purpose of getting this was to see what open positions we have that we could potentially repurpose, not to just figure out how many open positions we have. So this is what I'm trying to figure out right now.
Yes.
Can we repurpose the TTA nurse? And the other position, the senior admin assistant, can that be repurposed?
Yes.
And can the TTA music position be repurposed? Yes. So
The
you're
answer
telling
to
me
all
we have.
three of those the answer is yes.
Okay, that's great. I guess, and don't take this the wrong way, but moving forward, I think it would be helpful if we, when you add new positions, that you're coming to the board and saying, let's repurpose these 3 versus the board coming back and,
Right.
it's kind of reverse.
Yes.
Okay, just, if you understand my meaning.
Yes.
Okay, so we now find that we have 3 open positions that we can repurpose. We've just added 2 maintenance positions, and further on in the budget, it looks like we're looking to add another position.
Right.
So it looks like it's,
I'm not sure that the
However-
funding of these 3 positions is the same as the funding
I
for
understand,
the
but,
other 3 positions.
but it's a lot closer than going from 0 to a position.
Yes.
All right, so,
However,
go ahead.
I'll let Maria speak to recognizing the cushion in the budget is limited right? So, for example, we all know that there's essentially an unfunded retirement liability annually. And through attrition and things, that's where
Yep.
you make up that funding. So in going through all of this, and we've been, doing quite a few exercises going through these different things, that is also an area of concern.
I understand that, but, so there are, of this list on the bottom, these TTA positions, the facilities custodian, which I understand that we need to hire, and so they're essentially, do we need the senior admin assistant? What is this open position?
So that was
the
essentially a
Medicaid.
Medicaid billing position that was vacated when somebody retired or left.
And then we got MSB.
Right, and now we've since contracted with an agency that does that, and they charge basically a 9% fee. So this is a position that, this was new to some of us looking at, as we were going through this, uncovering this, going, oh, wait a minute, so it is still a vacant position, it is still a budgeted position, and that we believe that we could absolutely reallocate that for another position.
Okay, good. So I understand what you're saying about the cushion. The cushion really is for newer board members. We typically have a surplus at the end of the year. Most of the surplus, if you look at it, comes from unused salary line items. So the board over the last 5 years has really cut positions that haven't been used. So you see.
Years. They weren't used in years.
Used in years. So
Open
yeah,
for
it's
years.
concerning if we then repurpose these, because once you spend all the money in the budget, you can't go back to the towns. So I'm not suggesting that we
Spend it all.
spend it all, especially right now, on my own personal feeling, is that the default budget will probably pass and not the proposed budget. Not that I'm not gonna, I would hope the proposed passes. So, but if that happens, we're gonna have to look and see what to do there.
Right. That's gonna take finesse. You guys are gonna have to sit here and look at it.
So, anyway, so we essentially have 4 positions that could be repurposed.
Three.
No, I thought we had,
Music nurse.
Music nurse and the senior admin assistant.
and the senior administrator, I don't know, okay. So we have
You could-
3.
you- By rights, you could take the science also, because that was showed to us at last meeting at the back that we weren't using that.
Was that the physics?
Yeah.
That's the physics. We may not be using it, but, I want to use it. We
I
haven't
know.
gotten to AP numbers, but they look like they're dropping off the cliff in terms of the number of students.
I'm not disagreeing, I'm just saying that
I'm
that
just
was
saying
mentioned as
that's-
a position that
well-
wasn't gonna be filled.
Math and,
I know.
to the learning loss point, we should be putting somebody in there for learning loss in math, if anything.
I agree.
Okay. Let's get on that. Okay, yeah, no, I'm not in favor
I'm
of
just-
touching that position.
Put it out there.
Yeah,
That's all I do.
agree. Okay, so I think we have a good understanding now.
Mark?
Fast question, so I understand, I want to make certain I understand the senior admin is a redundant position because that's been contracted out for the billing. The TTA nurse is no longer required because that student is no longer being served here, so it doesn't require the one-on-one. What's the music position? That's the only one that hasn't been.
So that is, when we hired for the last music position, we hired for the middle school band director. That music position was a choral instructor, and just based on general music numbers, we've been able to, I talked to Kurt at length about it again today, at this, it was expected that we were going to see continuing increased numbers at the middle and high school in general music, but in fact, we haven't seen the level of increase that was expected, and based on, that conversation today, the expected level of increased number of students as was previously projected would likely not result, Kurt felt
Understood.
pretty comfortable that we will not need that position for next year as well.
Okay, cool.
And Maria, this not to beat a dead horse, of this admin, so that's in the proposed operating budget under what, contract labor or something? You said it's being contracted out now?
So the
yeah,
contracted
Medicaid-
portion of it happened before us. So my understanding, and again, this is just my understanding of what happened, is that we used to have a person that did the Medicaid billing.
Right.
We weren't getting as much money back from Medicaid as we were supposed to. So when this person left, they decided to give it a try to contract it with MSV.
But it's elsewhere in the budget, that was.
Yes, that is also.
That's all I
Yes.
wanted to know.
In essence, it's self-funding. So MSB is a billing agency that does Medicaid billing. Not
Okay.
to say that we don't do anything with it. Actually, Kelly does quite a bit with, ensuring that we're doing all of the documentation at all of the school levels that we need to do. But basically what they do is they bill Medicaid, and then based on recoupment of funds, they then bill us 9% or 9.5%. I don't know exactly where we stand in our contract right now, but they will then bill us up that 9.5% or whatever portion of money that we received recoupment from Medicaid on, and we pay them that.
So it's
it
really
doesn't.
not an expense for us because the money that
So I
they
guess-
help us recoup pays for it. So
Yeah,
it's
so
not-
Brian's question is, this position is still funded in the proposed budget?
It is.
Yes.
Okay, that's all you wanted to know.
I got some great explanations.
We've been working together so long, I
you go.
already know it. I can tell what your real
Yes,
question
it is.
Okay,
It is
that's
in
all.
the budget.
Okay, we can move on from
There you
that
go.
position
Very
now.
And then the custodian, just so you know, is a custodian position at Atkinson Academy that we had been trying to fill for.
No, we need to leave that open.
Oh, yeah, no, we need it. but
yeah, we can't
don't
fill
even
it.
have
It's not
applicants,
even-
So if any in the public is watching and you know of anybody interested in a custodian position, please let them know, because we are at the point that we will have to explore going into contracted services, because we have, our custodians are working, we have some custodians that are working 16 hours a day.
Have we tried, or can we, because I know these are now in the union, to try to split some of these positions and make them part-time?
The custodial positions or any positions.
Well, custodial, and specifically, since this is an open position that we want to fill. And the reason I ask that question, I do a lot of work with intergenerational and older adults, is that demographically, our population is aging. There are a lot of older adults out here that would like to work, but they don't want to work full-time. But I mean, I go to Market Basket I talk to
I want to work 4 hours a day.
she wants to work
I wanna
4 hours.
sleep.
Yeah, this woman just said, I just want to work 4 hours a day, a couple days a week, just because it helps. Can we do that? Because you might be able to attract more people that way. There are people,
I'm not opposed to try anything at this point. quite
I think I would
honestly.
try that, at least, that'll at least alleviate some of the burden on the custodians that we have working full-time, so they're not having to work.
We
as
have a
much.
position open, which is actually like a sub-custodian position because of this. So if we have a sub, or somebody older that just wants to here and there pick up a shift or half a shift, we don't even have applicants.
But again, if you advertise it as a part-time position versus a full-time position, you may find you get
We
applicants.
can try, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. I
We have
would-
to try anything.
I'm happy
yeah.
to
I'd try it.
anything, yeah. That's a good idea.
We
We'll
did
try.
that very thing with the crossing guards, actually, right? We had advertised it together as a single job, and
Yeah.
then we also tried splitting it to see if there was interest. We haven't had good luck with that yet, but that's a unique position. too.
Yeah, it's a unique position.
So, does the board have any other questions about open positions before we move on to the, please stay right where you are, Maria.
Don't move.
Okay.
So this next agenda item is the financial analyst position. I asked for this to be put back on the agenda because
I'll just give a quick explanation that.
please do.
Again, having gone through this, identifying just the vacant positions that we had, and looking at, and having conversations about how would we reallocate funds otherwise if we're looking to create other positions. There are a great many positions that when we look at instructional needs, when we look at, financial needs, HR needs, we're a very large organization, and what additional supports might we need in any particular area? So as part of that, I said, let's remove all of these positions that we brought forward. We brought the 2 in-school student support positions, one at the middle school and one at the high school. The financial analyst we had already brought forward, but not in a very formal way. But then, as we were having these conversations, there were a number of other positions that we all threw on the table and said, look, these are things that we think we might need moving forward. So I said, let's take them all off, and then, yes, you called Kelly and said, put financial analyst back on. I said, great, put it back on, but I just wanted to let everybody know that the reason that we removed them was, felt it was more prudent to do more investigating, have a clearer picture, a deeper understanding of what would we be looking at as far as prioritizing the commitment of reallocating funds differently. And then, of course, the other part was, in the conversation with Maria, is that's our only cushion, right? So depending on what happens between now and the second Tuesday in March, I was reluctant to really bring forward and talk about, let's add something else, or let's reallocate those funds, because, as Sheila, you just pointed out, we're looking at very different conversations. If, in the event that we do not get the proposed budget, we are sharpening our pencils and we're figuring out how we are going to continue to operate the district.
And I just want to say I'm very thankful I won't be here for that. Just saying, I want no part of that. But I got a question.
There's always a write-in, Sheila.
Nope.
I know,
I happen to have
Big no. I never thought I'd be here now. So that's a whole nother
We're so
thing.
happy you're here, Sheila.
Can I ask a question on this? Because I've just a couple of things that I found very humorous was, would this person be replacing you on collective bargaining?
Probably not in the negotiation phase, but yes, in helping me with the modeling of the
Okay.
numbers, yes.
The other thing is, there's a lot here, but is anybody going to have time to do, like, grants, grant writing? Like, would that fall under this person? Like, could we do it, like, why are
We
you
can
smiling at me
try.
like that?
Because grant writing is a full-time job. The research and the writing of the grants is a complete full-time job. I personally have tried to look for grants, and it can take you a whole entire week. It's a full-time job.
Okay.
I personally think we should find a grant writer, a professional grant writer, that is a self-funded position, because there are grants that pay for a grant writer. My understanding, I only have experience with grant writers at Marymount College, but my understanding is that they're extremely hard to find. A good grant writer is extremely hard to find. And grant research and writing is not as easy as a lot of people think it is. So we just applied for the SAFE grants, which Carrie actually, and you can speak to it, she applied, 29 applications. It took her, about 3-4 weeks? 29 applications, of which we received $175,000, but it was almost a month of one employee to get the 29 applications for that one grant.
It's
And
very
did you get the grant?
We got it, yeah, that's the one that we did, that we presented to you
Last
meeting.
last meeting,
You weren't here.
$175,000.
I wasn't here. It was, what was that for?
$175,000.
For the rekeying and the shades.
Oh,
Under the
well,
security.
congratulations.
That's-
But that's well worth it, because I don't think we're paying her $175,000. I hope
Well,
not.
no,
under
but
that.
again, she
Little
has
under.
her
Just below.
full-time job as well. You know, she has.
But no, but to your point, it is worth the investment to
Yes.
invest in somebody to write grants, and just, again, being the old person on the board, literally and figuratively. We had a grant writing committee established about 5 years ago when I first came on the board that was supposed to start, Sandy remembers this, don't you? With Scott Strange running it, in charge of it? No, you weren't.
This is just to put up,
It's always done through one person, to my knowledge.
No, Scott Strange, we had a, well, maybe that was
Historically.
before you got in,
not that
but
professional.
it was when Dr. Metzler was here and Scott Strange, we had a grant committee. I still have the emails on it.
Well, I was just thinking that, anybody who retired or whatever would like to jump into that. May get volunteers to do that kind of stuff.
You mean like
People have extra
I got a
time
perfect
on their
person,
hands.
Sheila.
I had it was a quick conversation with Chris
I'll
to
second
open
that
it to
motion.
teachers. I had a quick conversation with Chris to open it to teachers and,
Stipend.
with stipend, if you get the grant, then we throw a stipend. We can structure something, but
I was just asking because, we kind of need money, so.
believe me, if I had time, I would be
Just putting it out
applying to
there.
I know a lot of it's,
Alternative
yeah.
sources of revenue. There's no
Like I said,
question.
there's a lot of people who are retired that would be great grant writers, I'm sure. Semi-retired people.
If you know of anyone, like I said, I know there's a lot of grants that pay for a grant writer.
Well, you can build the fee in for the
Well, at
grant.
least a percent, but if we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
find.
No. And-
Couple of people sitting right at the table.
What?
You're gonna have a lot of time in your hands on that. And,
There's one over there too. I'm just saying, there's like another one right there.
Somebody else retired? No, Mark and I are splitting the custodian job.
We've discussed it, yep.
Okay, so getting back to the
Maria.
position that is on the agenda.
You might have answered this already, and I just maybe didn't hear you, but if this position went forward, they would work with you or under you?
Under.
Under me.
Under you? Okay.
Yeah.
And
So more than I also wanted to say more than anything, I don't want to use the word concern, but what I'm envisioning for this position more than anything is we are getting less and less funding from the state and from the federal government. We are putting more and more burden into the taxpayers. I think we need to proactively start looking into ways to move forward instead of waiting when
The
it
ball
goes
drops.
lower and react to the fact. So what this position is going to do is to help in looking to move forward, to plan forward. What are we doing right now? What can we improve? What can we do better? How can we utilize our resources in a much effective manner that will allow us to still functioning within the resources that we currently have and not keep asking the taxpayers for more and more and more. I think it's a proactive solution rather than waiting and making a reactive one. I don't, and nobody in my team, I was having this conversation yesterday, and we are $1 million organization. I have one accountant that does the books for the entire $80 million organization. I have one accounts payable and one payroll person. In any company, $80 million company, at least you have 7 or 8 finance and accounting people. I have 3. That's insane. And I'm working 15 and 16 hours a day. I can't keep doing it. I'm being honest with you guys. I'm not up for it. I have done it. We brought the district where it needs to be financially. We are caught up with audits. We are caught up with all of our reporting. We're still a little bit a lot cleanup to do, but I feel like, okay, we're someplace that I can say, I'm not working 16 more hours a day. I'm not.
well, you've added the
Michael's got a question.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm reading this, and honestly, there are like several different job duties and descriptions that are being listed. So based on what you're describing, many people within the business administration are doing these duties. They're splitting some of these tasks, among each other, and thus you're looking to have this position to alleviate basically that extra time everyone else is doing, and hopefully more efficiently work that department.
Right, so it's a little bit of both. It's just helping with, like the extra things that I have, but also that portion that I said of helping us to dig deep into how are we doing things, where are we spending our dollars, how we can improve every dollar that we spend, how can we spend it better, how can we make things more effective in looking into the future. So how can we get there without keep asking and asking and asking our taxpayers for money?
Good.
I'm all for the addition of another position to your department. You know, we know that there's a lot more paperwork now involved. Didn't they just introduce like GASB standards that we didn't have prior? I remember Jeff Dowd talking about that was gonna put an increased burden. I'm so totally in support of this. I could see repositioning one of the other open positions to this. I will be off the board by the time this gets filled, but I like the vision of this person, but I think that probably you or one of your staff this to me is a very complex sort of analytical position for somebody with that if they don't have that much experience. You could handle that. I'm sure Lisa could handle that. I think you're probably going to find this morphs into something else that will hopefully relieve the burden on the two higher people in the organization so that your time could be spent not on essentially clerical sorts of things and on this higher order of thinking. I think you're going to have a hard time finding a person that can work at this high level with little experience. You might, but you need another person, bottom line, and I think eventually you're just going to probably figure out how the mix of the work is going to go. And I mean, I appreciate what you're trying to do here, but I think ultimately when you bring somebody on board, you're just going to probably, like Michael said, reposition, reorganize your workloads depending on their strengths and your strengths and what you want to work on.
So why don't we as a board then approve this and then leave it up to the superintendent and see what happens after the March vote? How it gets filled, because that's just right around the corner. You have.
Yeah, so what we want to do is approve the addition of this person, and the funding from this will come from one of the 3 open positions that we just identified that do not need to be filled.
Or two
A
of them.
combination of
Or
portions of,
Two,
yeah.
it's a portions
One
of them.
plus right, portion of the
whatever.
second, probably.
So,
One's not gonna cover.
No.
I don't think so. I have to
Mark.
look how much are they.
Before we do vote, I would just like to say on a personal level, as a newer member of the board, and I'm sure it would be echoed with some of the more senior members, you personally and professionally, I respect, admire the dedication, the unwavering dedication to this district, to making it run the way it should be, to providing your time, your resources to those you work with who hold you in the highest esteem, and to a newbie such as myself when you've occasionally had to hold my hand across the street. I can't thank you enough for being a part of this district. You're admired and respected, and thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate
And
it.
all the hours with all the unions and all the negotiations, because we have picked people on certain ones. She's gotta be there all of the time.
well, and by the way, I've been on the phone with Maria or on Zoom for the last 2 nights at 8:30 at night. And where is she? She's in her
Upstairs.
office.
So,
Hey, it's my district and I do
I
it.
understand that, but we need to staff this department appropriately.
Lighten the load.
Thank you.
So I'll make a motion to add this position and repurpose one or more of the open positions that we currently have in the budget does not need to be filled.
I'd love to second.
Second.
Oh, shoot, you're too late.
We're all there.
All right.
Third.
Okay, Sean. We've got the motion in the second. Madam Secretary, we got this?
Yes, yes.
Don't forget her name this time.
Writing, sorry.
All right. All those in favor? Opposed? 0. So it's like we are tonight, 7-0-0.
Thank you.
Okay, you can say right there,
Maria.
this is your night.
you can
Maria,
run,
you
but
know?
you can't hide.
I know, because then we got the budget next.
Exactly.
Hopefully we don't undo what we just did.
Exactly.
Well, this is basically what we just talked about.
Right, this is just moving the money.
Right, for those.
Oh, yeah, so this is
Those
for those
contracted positions.
positions that you saw that Kelly has identified that to use for the contracted
Right.
services. This is the the transfer for
And
the
I'll
repurposing of those funds.
Thank you again for writing the motion. We all appreciate that,
Yeah.
believe me. I'd like to make a motion to accept those budget transfers and the amounts in the account specified in the CFO/BA's budget transfer request dated January 5th, 2023.
Second.
Second. Just for all those watching, the total amount here is $300,000. Correct?
That's what the,
All those in favor? Opposed? 700.
I love it when she writes out the motion.
Now, on to the 2024 budget.
So, on the first page, you have the graph for the default budget, then you have the proposed budget. I know some people are visual and they appreciate the graph, so that's why I had it like this. The other smaller paper pages is the detail for the budget. We have the proposed against the voted for 2023, and we have the actuals and the voted for the last 2 years.
Hold on, Maria, on the first page. Never mind, keep going, because I'll look this up on the, where's the warrant article for the administrators? Which one is that?
Oh, no, this is the
It's just the
23
operating budget.
voted.
Oh,
I don't
sorry,
have-
okay, I got it, sorry.
That one, on the right side is the 23 voted.
I got it, 23, I was thinking 24, okay.
Yeah, no, that is last year's voted and
Got it.
what were the articles
Got it.
last year. Then we have the detail. In the long, so let's look at it simultaneously. On the longer paper that is folded, so that first page is the variance between the proposed and the default budget. So we have a default budget of 81,151,107, and we have a proposed budget of 83,020,418. That's a variance of 1.869 million. So here I tried my best to just recap in the most summarized way, what is that difference, what is that $1.869 million, and give some detail of what is under that number. Because these are the items that if we do not, if our proposed budget failed to pass, these are the items that we will not be able to fulfill for the district. So the first line is the $1 million that I think, budget committee decided in collaboration with the school board, because I think you both are in agreement that adding that million to the capital improvement plan of our district is extremely important. So that's the first line, the $1 million that got added to the capital improvement funds. Maintenance and repair, we have $220,000, which is the first explanation down below. What are the items under that $219,000? So it's basically maintenance stuff. Some of our floors, we really had been having to replace some of our floors and the asbestos on the tile floors. We have been trying to add a little bit every year for the rotating maintenance for each of our buildings. So for painting, for floor maintenance, for, like the general maintenance of each. So since Carl started, he has a very rigorous maintenance plan that he has for all the buildings. So this is just to basically proactively fund the maintenance of our buildings. And then the last items are this building, the SAU. We are in need, or upstairs, we definitely need carpeting. We need to finish repainting the offices downstairs. The last time they were painted, I think it was 2014. So we had been slowly painting upstairs. Now we need downstairs, but obviously this is something that we have to slowly and in stages and request the money for it. So that's basically that maintenance and repair money that is up top. Then we have the professional services. A lot of these inspections that are listed on the professional services are inspections that we are required to do, that the district, some of them didn't do, and for many years we haven't. We are now receiving some notices of inspections that we haven't done in the last 3, 4, 5, or 60 years. So it's something that we definitely need to put in the budget and request in the budget and keep doing them annually or semi-annually, depending on the inspection. But that's what that list of, most of the professional services under that list is. The other are the annual audit because of the increase in grants and the Department of Education and all the reporting that is now required. Our audit is more expensive because it takes the auditors longer to go through our end of the year audit. We have more in legal fees because, as we know, legal fees has increased as well as everything else. And yeah, basically all the professional services that we need to include in the budget.
I'm looking at these professional services there. These inspections, these are contracted services. Why aren't they part of the default?
They're not contracted. We don't have contracts for them.
We don't have contracts. They're required.
They're
but we don't
needed
have
and they're
contracts.
required, but we have to request them in the budget. We cannot include, this is one of those iffy of the regulations of the default budget. This is one of those that it is required, but it's not required.
Unless you have a written
I
contract.
have to ask
so-
the legislature permission to fund for
No,
these
I-
inspections.
Okay. And for future years, we can't do something like that because basically that's what this, as we know that, well, for those who are unfamiliar, that the default budget is a formula based on last year's operating budget. So you don't really have a ton of leeway on this stuff. And the long and short of this thing is the tips we propose, the default is the buildings. If people do not vote for the operating budget, you are pretty much taking a ton of money out of the buildings.
Which ultimately results in you have to continue to maintain and make
Yep.
our buildings operational and safe. So you have to look for other places oftentimes to find funds to do those necessary
Right.
repairs and maintenance and all of those things. And unfortunately, that oftentimes directs you to looking at instructional supports for students. And that's what you wind up compromising.
Michael?
Yeah, Chris just actually answered my question. I was wondering about that. I mean, if these inspections are needing, obviously we have to spend the money. We have to get the money from somewhere, so yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was kind of hoping there were contracts. But I thought I'd find you some money.
And there, we had a conversation with Jim O'Shaughnessy. There's a little bit of flexibility there, but it depends who you ask, right? That there's districts that do it this way, and other districts that do it the other way. And
I just think with the
There have been lawsuits and
history,
discussions and,
Absolutely.
things that have
I got you.
gone on, so.
we
I'm
know,
very familiar with the
we
lawsuit.
know that
Yeah, I'm
well
sure.
here.
Right,
So.
you're very-
The next line is the district-wide equipment, which again, this year is $73,000. When you look at $73,000 in an $80 million budget, I don't think that's a huge request for the district-wide need for capital increase. For equipment increase. Obviously, there are line items there of all sorts. We have music for the uniforms for the students, which, as Kurt has said in his presentation of his budget, they are 30 or 40 years old. We have the tables in the Atkinson Academy. We have the projectors for the elementary schools, security cameras that we need, coverage that we need that we currently don't. The cleaning the high school, and laminator and some rocks. So it's not huge items, but things that are really needed. It's not a want, it's a need. So again, these are things that if our proposed budget failed to pass, are things that will not probably realize, or like Chris said, we will have to sacrifice other resources that we have in order to gain some of these sources that we need for this. The next line is the two new maintenance positions. We estimated at $70K each based on the union contract and the rates in there, salary schedule. We have the FICA and the benefits and the new handling retirement system for that. District-wide professional development. These are the professional development for the non-union employees. So all of our union employees have under their contracts funds designated to professional development. We're trying to add $10,000 for our non-union professional development. And then the last three lines are the the items that were in last year's budget that I have to take out of the default budget because they were a one-time items. So the first one is the purchase of one of the facilities vehicles. So in last year's budget, for the people that are new, maybe this is kind of confusing, but last year in the budget, on this year's budget, we have $75,000 for the purchase of the truck that we bought.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I cannot leave that in the default budget for next year because that was a one-time item, so I have to remove it. Same thing we bought $21,000 this year's budget was assigned to buy music instruments. I have to remove it as well. And $65,000 is all the equipment that was identified in all the different departments, so I had to remove those three from the budget.
Okay. Questions on the board? This is the season, as we're wrapping up the budget season.
I just want to make a comment. I'm going to make it at the public hearing with the Budget Committee. Feel free to respond to my comment. As much as I want to see an extra $1 million in capital in the proposed budget, looking at the historical votes on the proposed versus the default budget and which one passes, I'm very concerned by the fact that the proposed budget is $2 million more than the default budget is going to be enough that proposed budget is going to pass. So
Excuse me.
I personally feel like we should pull that $1 million out to give the proposed budget a better chance of passing, but it's not up to me. I would like to see the proposed budget pass, and maybe that will give enough to pass the lease, which we could then use. Anyway, just throwing it out there.
That can be done also in deliberative.
What? Changing the budget?
Absolutely.
Well, it can also be discussed at the public hearing. I just
Yeah.
thought I'd throw it out
Yeah.
for the board
I'd
to
give
ponder.
Budget Committee a chance to pull it back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm going to make that statement at the public hearing, the budget,
yeah.
too.
You're our liaison, Mark, from the budget.
That'll be a fun message.
So,
You don't see them again until next week, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so, I would be doing them a disservice if I didn't share that we did not have this exact same conversation going back and forth a number of times.
Okay.
A lot of it having to do with needs versus probability of getting something to pass. I mean, so we're driving a vehicle that has 170,000 miles on it. And the feeling was unless we put that extra $1 million in there, we're putting Bondo on the rust spots rather than, sheet metal. And so, but
Did the Budget Committee get the historical votes sent to them, so
They
they're
did.
aware that they're going
yeah,
against?
no, there was a great deal of discussion.
Okay, fine.
on-
We don't need to
and it
rehash
was
it.
not, it ultimately was almost universal. The approval of the added $1 million, philosophically, they were on the exact same page and shared the exact same concerns. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think, and we'll probably talk about this in public hearing, but, I mean, if we better explain why we need that $1 million,
So.
I feel that maybe more people, if they're informed, they'll maybe consider it.
One would hope
Michael,
so.
not to be
It-
facetious, but do you know how many people we had at the public hearing last year?
None. None.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, on BudCom, we went to all the towns. We went to the selectmen. I went to the selectmen. I posted the town hall. I posted at Brachetti's. I posted at the library, inviting people to come and do the tour so that they could see the need.
How many did you get?
We had 7 people that were not involved with the committee, and that's including 2 children. So 5 adults
was there.
for all of the tours.
The only thing they see is the number. They see the number, Michael. They go in there and they look at the numbers, and that's how they vote. That's how they
Unfortunately.
vote, unfortunately.
I mean, the only other way that we could counter that, not counter, I hate to say counter, we could put out a flyer or an correspondence to the community. The board could, and I thought EEI was gonna try to give us something to- for
No,
the,
we're
putting information
working.
together.
but to put a mailer, it would cost something,
We're
but I
working
feel
on
like
it.
it's worth it to communicate
Yeah.
what we're doing. I don't know if it should just include the lease, or if maybe it should include the, the budget, but
No, Kelly, Chris, and I are working on a
Okay, great.
flyer, on a
I think we
mailer.
need to put out,
We have to do media
I do have so much
blasts
free time.
that's informative. Right? We can't be electioneering, we need to provide information.
you can certainly provide information. I mean, our town sends out, information, and I would encourage you to do a mailing, because again, demographically, the people that come out to vote are the older adults, and I'm older. I like to read. I mean,
I like
you know what I
hard
mean?
copies, too.
I like hard copies, so I think it's
No,
worth
like I
it to
said,
do a
Actually,
mailing.
Kelly did the mailer. It's a threefold mailer. She actually did it. We're reviewing it together to make sure that we're not electioneering, because I'm not very familiar with what you can and what you cannot say. I don't come from the municipal and government world, so
Well, I'd run it by.
my threefold will be a lot different than what you can
It was
put
all
in here.
electioneering when I first learned that.
I'd be
But
happy.
that was
I
it.
tried.
I'll be happy to look at it too if you want. I mean, just
I
another
tried,
set of
and
eyes.
I think Chris almost had a heart attack with the things that I had
You
there.
can't say that.
It's like, yeah.
But that was a great part of the conversation with Budget Committee, has been that was really about how are we going to get this information out to people so that it's most understandable, so people can make the most informed decision possible. Sure, you look at the numbers and you go, huh, wait a minute, it's a pretty significant difference. And then, I don't know if I'm gonna point our attention to it, but when you look at the tax rate impact documents,
Yep.
that's where you really see it, where, one of those tax rate impact documents, you're looking at just the proposed budget based on the, assessed values and a home value. And then when you look at that tax rate impact on the second page, that includes both the budget and all of the warrant articles. It's a significant increase in a lot of people's taxes.
Yep.
A number that most of us have never seen as a single increase in our taxes that I can ever recall.
Oh, I have.
Oh, I have.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely living in Sandown Valley.
Danville too. We've seen these increases come down before.
The information that you could possibly send out to the public, can you also detail what would happen if you were to go with the default and the consequences that involved
In general, yeah. Deep.
without
General
awfully
detail.
steering people
Yeah.
one way or the other?
That's
But
the
we don't
part
want
that
to
you
panic
can't.
it, right?
Well,
You
that's
don't
the
want
thing. You gotta be
Yeah,
very careful.
you.
Politicking, if you say, hey, this is how many teacher positions would
Right.
be,
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
that
no,
becomes
no, no.
challenging.
No way, yeah, you can't be
Yeah, you can't, oh, well, there's many music
information's
teachers,
available.
this many,
Yeah.
Do their due diligence too, yes.
Well, like, for
People need to
example,
understand that you're
Explain.
probably going into instructional staff, right? You're looking at, if you're looking at a quick estimate, we won't know until we're really there, and that's the unfortunate part of it, right? It's because if you wind up with default, then you have to look at what are the costs at the time for all of those other must-dos. And then those costs will continue to evolve, right, as you get closer to them. But you're going to have to come up with an amount somewhere along the way that says, we need to scale back by X amount in the budget, and what's that going to result in? But, the conversations that we had at the Budget Committee, you're probably looking at least $1 million. And if you're looking at $1 million, you're looking at 10 or 11 professional staff positions. You're looking at 20 to 22 paraprofessional positions. If you're then looking at, custodian and maintenance and administrative assistants and combinations thereof. It's, somewhere all in the middle of that, so.
Well, you're just referring to, Chris, that's not all of it. You're giving different scenarios.
Yeah, just saying that, you're looking.
Yes.
To find big money in a school district, unfortunately, you're looking at staff.
Well,
don't have
75% of your budget is staff.
Right.
There you go.
There's no getting around that. That's what it is.
That's it, unfortunately. We are a people-rich organization.
There you go. Okay. And Ray, I'll
Okay, so the next two pages, you just have side by side the default and the proposed, which you have seen before. I just sent a copy of the page. And the following two pages, so actually, if you turn to the last page, I have this graph, which I know it has a lot of things, but it's trying to serve a lot of different people and mentalities, so bear with
I
me.
made her make it busy.
As we all know, our taxes are composed of four components. So it's municipal, county, local education, and state education. So if you see at the bottom in the legend, the municipal is the blue, the county is the red, the local education, which is our taxpayers' money, is the green, and then the state education, which is our adequacy funding, is the purple. As you can see, for each of the towns, we have different components. The components volume is different for each of the towns. I added the valuation, the assessment valuation line to the graph to show the impact of that assessment valuation in your taxes. So if you see, if we start with Atkinson, we have the highest valuation in Atkinson, which is 1.5 million, which is $1.5 billion on the town of Atkinson. That is inverse to the tax rate. When you go to Danville and Sandown, you see that they have a much lower valuation, and the impact of that is a higher tax rate. Meaning the planning of the towns is extremely important in your taxes. So.
Well, true, Maria, but it's not so much just the planning of the town. Out, being from the Shire. We're a long ways from civilization, so it's harder for us to attract
Yeah,
businesses.
there's no way to get to us, there's no way to,
Get to Danville. So,
Or Sandown.
but you're right, and I will say it publicly, I'll get bashed. Our town has not done a good job in terms of planning, really, frankly.
Yeah, and they're
We're
the
bedroom
rural
communities,
towns.
largely. All
Again,
four
The rural
towns
towns,
are
I
bedroom
mean, so,
not easy access, no ways to.
but it also speaks to the way that we've decided to apportion our school tax rates based on ADM and EPB, because we are different than other towns too, because some do it just on EPB, some are 50-50, some are, so that's part of it. It's the apportionment of the tax rate too, or the taxes. So, but I like this. It's kind of cool, the way it's inversely proportional to, nice job. Who thought that up?
With Lisa's help, it was Lisa and I. It took a while to try to put something that everybody understands and it's easy to read for a lot of people, so.
No, it's
Took a while.
I like the numbers. I'm not a graph person.
And then I also added the students, so you can see a proportion of the number of students, what the impact that it makes.
Yeah, but the other thing too, that you've included what the effect of our budget is on,
So this, yeah.
but it doesn't include state or the county and municipal taxes, which will also increase this. So if you're thinking, oh, I have a $300,000 house, my taxes are gonna go up by this much. No, they're gonna go up by that much for the school and then some more for the town and the county.
So I did the educational tax rate, so if you go back to the prior two pages, what I tried to here was to put the educational tax rate and the impact of that education tax rate, which is, again, the portion of the education that the taxpayers pay for, through the town and directly to the school, put it into what your rates for those two are this year, and what the first page has only the proposed budget, and then the second page has the proposed with the warrant articles as we're envisioning to be. Obviously, TTA hasn't passed, so that is still on the question, but, so is the tax impact for both the proposed and the proposed with warrant articles. Again, it's only for the educational tax rate, so when you go, if you go to compare that second section where it says education tax rates, if you go to compare it to your tax bill, you have to look only at the education rates, not the whole town rate.
Right, which I think the education tax rate proportion of most of the town's bills probably runs between 50 and 70%. Is that, like, of my tax bill, I think 70% is the school and the other 30 is.
Yes.
You think so? So this reflects 70%
70%.
of the tax increase that you're probably gonna see.
Yeah. I like how you put the home values up, because see, for years before this crazy real estate market, the people used to always talk about these $200,000 or $300,000 homes. So now,
Well, yeah, because
oh,
when
well, you're right. No, you're right. The whole
Oh,
world just sort of
absolutely.
lost, just magically went up 200 grand. Just,
Yeah, no,
you
I don't
blinked
think
and-
there are in any of these towns a $200,000 home.
no,
Correct.
maybe a
Sell
mobile
right
home, like
Correct.
even a mobile home is probably
Well, yeah.
150 to 200.
Because that's been the, since I've been in different
I will say that
different chairs and public
Acreage.
service, that people always throw these numbers around, and there's always someone in the room saying, I don't know who you're talking to, because no one has that house. They're always talking about, like, back in the days, they used to talk about $100,000. Well, let's see, the cheapest house is 300, so why are you talking about $100,000 house? But I am.
Maria, you guys did phenomenal
Nice
on
job.
this.
Yeah, I
Very
like
nice
that.
job.
I didn't like the numbers. I'm going to be honest with you. I
I don't think any of us.
it
I
was.
like the number. Oh,
I did not like the numbers.
We had been working with my team to be able to project the information.
I'm not saying the
that
numbers weren't
people
true.
like.
I'm just saying I did not like Sandown's numbers at all whatsoever. But it really was done well, so thank you both.
Michael?
Yeah, so I noticed a pretty significant decrease in the adequacy aid for Atkinson. I'm trying to remember how it was calculated, but that's partially based on like the free reduced lunch, English language learners, and I'm missing the other one there, special
So-
education, right?
Yes, so there's 5 components, yes. And basically, most of it has to do with the decrease in ADM. So average daily membership is the way the Department of Education calculates the membership, the student membership. It is a formula which you take half of the day, that the half of the attendance minus half a day of absence, and they divide it by the half of days that the school year has. So, because last year, the students weren't here, either for COVID, because they were sick, because parents decided to keep them home, the attendance went declined. We have a huge decline in attendance. So that's what drove that decrease well, that was one of the things that drove that decrease in adequacy this year. The other one was that last year, the state of New Hampshire decided for the portion that the towns, so that second tax rate, the local, not the one for taxpayers, but the one that the towns collect in behalf of the state, the whole state has to raise $300 million to make that go, that tax. Last year, the state decided to give $100 million relief for the state. So all the towns had to raise money less $100 million. So this year they put it back. So when it goes down, nobody really pays attention because we get more funding and everybody's excited.
Right.
"Ooh,
Yeah.
we're getting
Yeah.
more. But when you look, I sent you both the school board and a long sheet that had every year adequacy aid comparison. You can see it there, and I have it highlighted in yellow. that $100 million, the impact of that $100 million. So we're basically back in 2023, we're basically back where we were in 2021, but we see it as a huge decline because we didn't see the huge increase last year. So it's a little bit of everything. Is the decrease in the tendency, is the relief for that portion of the adequacy. So
Free and reduced numbers being down,
free and reduced numbers being lower.
breakfast and lunch was offered free.
Okay. That's our budget.
We have it.
Thank you.
If you have any other questions after, you know my email, you know my phone number, you always know how to reach out to me.
Run,
I know your phone.
Do.
run. Run.
Can I run with you, Sheila?
No, I'm saying run, girl. I think you're done. Run.
Maria, thank you.
Okay, next. Policies. Let's see what we got here.
No, we have AP things, don't we, first?
No,
policies
is
next.
Sorry.
Hopefully it'll be short.
So as a group, you have two policies before you. Both are required by law. Both have recommendations from NHSBA, and both made it through the policy committee and are before us for a second read tonight.
Making changes from last time, correct?
No changes from the first
No
read.
changes.
I'll make a motion to accept policy DK and EHAB for second read.
Second.
Motion made second. All those in favor? Opposed? 700.
Are we only one for first read too?
It didn't come forward this
Oh,
evening.
okay. But I saw it in the
There was
packet.
supposed to be another one coming forward for first read, but it didn't able to come forward
we didn't get
after
through it
the meeting today.
Okay, so
Okay.
now,
you go,
advanced
Kim.
placement.
It's all you.
Advanced placement test scores.
I don't want it to be.
She does everything.
She doesn't feel good, so she wants to make
Wait,
sure. she
don't we
doesn't
need a
make anybody upset.
custodian?
She's appointed for the part-time.
Oh, yeah, that would be right.
With all your free time.
And the other 8 hours of the day you have left.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, Mark.
Good evening, how are you?
Good.
So in your packet should be an executive summary highlighting the 5-year AP scores. Just to remind you all and to remind the public at home, the AP advanced placement tests and classes that go along with that at the high school level, there's a variety that we offer. Per policy IHCD, all students who take the AP course are required to then take the test. This is something that's very unique to Timberlane. Most other schools that offer AP, they do not require their students to take that test. The district also pays for our students to take the test. It's around $90 to $95. But it is one of those things that, like I said, it's unique where, if in another school, the student sort of doesn't feel ready for the test or doesn't feel like as though they can take it, they don't have to take it. We require our students to take it. And that's been going on for a number of years now. But the first page sort of gives a broad overview of the AP trends. The one thing that I did want to highlight there is the percentage of total AP students with a qualifying score or a score of 3 or better is at a 5-year high at 79%. And for those of you who don't know, AP scores are 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Usually a qualifying score is a 3 or better. And then the second page just sort of goes into a little bit more detail, but does compare Timberlane scores to New Hampshire scores and to the global scores. This year, our average percent of scores above 3% is higher. It's higher than New Hampshire. It's higher than the global. Our average score for all AP tests, it's a little bit below the New Hampshire average score, but it's above the global score. And then the last 2 pages highlight every specific test over the past 5 years. The first one goes over the average scores, and the second one does it by percentage of qualifying scores. And so you can look test by test how our students did.
Questions?
Go ahead, Josh.
Again, I'm concerned that I see a drop of total AP students from 2018 of 165 to 2022 of 121. I know we're dropping students in the high school, but this is a 36% drop over the course of 5 years, and I know we haven't dropped that much in enrollment in the high school, have we?
Well, in 2017 to 2018, we were at 1,114 students. And 21-22, we were at 1,040 students.
So we've increased students, but we've,
No.
no.
17-18, we were at 1,114.
Okay.
In 21-22, we are at 1,040.
74. Yeah.
So we've had a 7% decrease in students, but a 36% drop in AP students.
And, we can't force students to take that class.
I understand this, but I don't think it's a question of forcing students. I think it's a question of the academic environment in the high school that promotes that. So what's the difference between what is going on in our high school? How many calculus students do we have take AP test? How many calculus AP score tests were there, and how many chemistry?
Off the top of my head, I do not know the number of students. I can find that for you if you need that data.
I guess the point is, we have very bright students in Timberlane. There should be a lot more of them taking these AP courses. I don't understand why we can't get our academics up in this district and have students taking AP exams. And to see 28% of the students only got a 3 on the calculus. STEM is where it's at. 38% of chemistry, those only 38% got a 3. And we've got 2 years of chemistry that they take. They take chemistry, right? And then they take AP chemistry.
Correct.
I'm just disappointed. I know you're working hard. I know you had a heck of a time during COVID, but we should be stronger in the sciences and math, and in the number of kids that we have taking these AP tests. We should survey these kids in middle school or beginning of high. Why aren't they taking them? I know you can't force them, but the question is, why don't you want to take them? When everybody knows that they're gonna help you moving forward. I don't know if it's a guidance counselor.
Well,
I just don't know. It's very frustrating to me. I'm sure it's frustrating to you too, because you're a science person.
Yeah, it's
very frustrating.
I can understand your frustration. I know anecdotally, more and more colleges are not recognizing AP through anecdotal evidence. I do not have any hard evidence on that. So, is that a contributing factor? I don't know. Are students finding that they would rather pursue things that they don't have to work as hard in? Is that a contributing factor? I don't know. There's lots of potential contributing factors. We are trying our best to prepare students. With turnover of staff, it's hard to find staff that are, experienced and high level, and have that experience to teach. We're putting people into those teaching positions who we feel can do it, and we're giving them all the supports that we can. We're sending them for training. We'll support them as best as we can. We can get them the materials and the resources that we can get them. But it's probably a number of different things. It could also be COVID. I don't know. Our kids coming out of COVID and saying that they really don't want to work to that level. They know that AP usually has a lot of summer work. I think every single AP course has summer work involved, and so our students saying that. I mean, I can talk to the counseling department and see if they have any answers to this. There's lots of things that I could
devising ways of.
Okay, well, let me just, before we go down a different path, look into this. Colleges may not what colleges look at? Because I went to a lot of elite colleges when I was with my daughter. They're looking at, if Timberlane is offering 30 AP courses, why is my daughter not taking 4 or 5 AP courses every semester? That's to their detriment. This is my thought. Quit offering so many AP courses then. You're telling me colleges, you're better off offering dual enrollment. It's going to do those kids a greater service than having 30 AP courses on here and not having kids take 3 or 4 courses, really,
Yeah,
from an admission standpoint. So maybe that's the way you want to go.
And we've actually seen decreasing numbers in our students electing to take dual enrollment. We offer them, they're in the class that offers dual enrollment, and they're not taking us up on it. They're
Well,
not
then
paying.
that's a guidance counselor thing. That needs to be, you pull those kids out and you explain to them the benefits of this.
We send things home to parents.
Parents
call
don't
parents.
understand.
Parents don't understand
Don't
dual
understand it,
enrollment.
Mark. I can tell you right now, they don't understand it.
I didn't understand it with my kids.
I'm a college professor and I didn't understand it. Like, seriously, it was difficult to navigate through. We need to make it simpler for a lot of these parents. And the importance of $100 is saving you from paying $1,200 for a course.
I don't disagree with you.
$1,200 credit.
But we still pay, we pay for AP
It's insane.
tests, correct, still?
AP tests, but dual enrollment costs.
No, I understand, but we're still
Early
paying
college
for
is
that
awesome.
$100 test.
Yes.
It is
Correct.
My only other comment to yours was, and this one kind of blew my mind too, was U.S. governments and politics. Like,
The scores? That's probably a
that bombed this year too.
Yeah.
So of the 22 on the first page, we did well above the New Hampshire Global on all but 4. And those are, the ones that really stick out, the calculus and the chemistry. I mean, literally, almost half and then a third lower, scoring 3 or above compared to the state average, whereas everything else, well, with the exception of 4 of the 22, we outscored the state average. Those 2 in particular are just way out of whack. Did we have a massive turnover in those departments?
There has been turnover in those departments.
More than the others? I mean, there needs to be, something has to account for this, because so many of the other areas, though our participation numbers are much lower, which one could argue could artificially inflate our test scores compared to the rest of the state. I don't know what the rest of the state numbers are. I don't know whether enrollment's, down everywhere statewide. But those 2 are just dramatically worlds apart from the New Hampshire Global.
It's in both cases, there are teachers who have been doing it now, I think, for 2 years, for the past 2 years. So they're relatively new to teaching AP. We are looking at ways to get them more supports. We're looking at ways to how do we get them what they need. I know for chemistry, there's required labs, and we get them all the required materials that they need to get. I believe that teacher did go for training. We're working on getting the calc teacher that training. We're working on getting them the supports. It's just there's limited. There's limited.
So what I hear
supports to go
from you
around.
is you notice this, your
Oh, yeah.
jaw dropped as well, and actions being taken to help address it. Perfect.
We're trying to figure
Figure it
it all out.
And it sounds like from several different angles, so I think that's encouraging to hear.
Do we still have AP French?
We don't have enrollment to support it.
European history, same thing? We don't have enrollment?
So with some classes, with as we go into the scheduling season, and we're about to start that, is we look at the requests from students, and if there is enough requests for students, we will run a class.
What do you consider enough requests?
Well, at one time, there was, we were kind of going with the number of 10. When certain cases, we have run classes less than 10 because it's, that in a French, for example, kids who have been with us for a number of years and did French 1 through the middle school and 2, 3, 4, and then, looking to get that AP, we've run it with lower numbers to ensure that those students get what they need. And we also have limited numbers of teachers. We have to make decisions. If we're running more sections of, say, studies in civics and economics, which is a required course, and U.S. history and world history, and we have limited numbers of teachers, and that we have to now make a decision that those required courses take precedent over, say, something like AP Euro. We can't run an elective without first meeting all of our core requirements that's required by the state. So in some cases, we just make decisions about, well, we're running more sections of these classes because they're required, and we're not going to run a section of a sort of a pure elective, if you will. So every year, things look slightly different. You'll notice that some years we don't run certain things. Euro, we haven't run in a number of years, and that could be due to, just students not choosing to take it. Students not signing up for it. Or only, a small number of students signing up for it. Or the other thing that sometimes happens is, especially with APs, is, these are really singletons, if you will, in the scheduling matrix. And so, the computer might want to put AP Euro, period 3B. And that's also the same time that, orchestra runs. And so now these kids have to make a choice and have to say, well, it's either orchestra or AP Euro. And they make the choice to do orchestra. And now you of those 10 that originally signed up, you're now, after the scheduling goes, maybe you're down to 5. And then those kids say, well, no, I don't want to do it. And so that all plays into how the schedule is built. And so every year looks slightly different with what we run and what we can run.
I'll let Michael go first.
Yeah, I was actually going to comment to what you were asking for a reason why, possibly the run the numbers down in curriculum and assessment committee. I asked Mark a lot of questions about AP because I actually just didn't know. And one of the things that I think a lot of parents are not aware of is that the tests are paid for, but I think the students may feel the pressure that the AP tests are required. So it's like you make a choice. You can either take a college prep course or you can take an AP course. You probably go for the college prep course just so you don't have to deal with that pressure. That's at least one thought.
What's the inherent pressure of the AP exam? Because I can tell you right now, my daughter took AP exams, and to her it wasn't pressure. It's not part of your final grade.
It's an exam. I mean, just think in terms of a teenager, it's a big exam you got to pass,
No. What's the scores don't come out till after school is over, so no one really knows your scores. And if you're really not interested, she'll be embarrassed. But she fell asleep during the chemistry AP exam, guys. One of your non-passers.
Don't tell me she got a 3. Don't tell me she got a 3.
No, she didn't get a 3. So, I mean, I'm just putting that out anecdotally because clearly, it doesn't. If it counted as your final exam, I wouldn't want to be doing that either. I probably wouldn't take the AP course.
Yeah, well, I mean, as Mark explained to me in the curriculum assessment committee, is that, the whole course is basically you training for the exam. I mean, the pressure's constant.
The course is, I certainly hope it's not training for, I hope the course is learning the content.
Okay.
Not training, I mean.
Let me correct that a little bit. So I was asking in terms of the curriculum for AP courses, and it's already basically set. So in a sense, you are kind of training for the exam as a result.
Well, I can tell you this, that we have an AP class that is, what did John Doobie used to do, U.S. history?
Yes.
He did.
Yeah.
U.S. history. Talk about work. They started in the summer.
It's every AP class starts
They
in
do.
the summer.
They all start.
They but John Doobie's was intense. They started early summer. They had plenty of work all summer long, and it was constant. They were here, I think, as a matter of fact, once a week or once every other week.
Yeah, but not all AP exam courses are like that.
But I understand that. But what I'm saying is that's a popular AP class.
Yeah.
That's a very popular AP class. So if it's the work, I'm kind of surprised that would be as popular as it is.
Like I said,
You
just
get
using
what
an
I mean?
example as
Well,
a teenager,
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, that course also, though, because of the way that it's set up, that course could also be the students' junior year social
see.
studies. So they could take AP US history rather than taking US or American history. So like some of these APs do count as required courses. So like AP US, AP World, for example, they both count as the required
Class.
Yeah.
sophomore year social studies class or junior year. So, it's not like Euro where it's above and beyond the requirements. Again, anecdotally, we find that there are students in our building who they don't even want to take accelerated level classes because of the fear of the extra work of it. And so, we have those 3 grading scales. We have CCP, accelerated, and AP. We know through talking to students that there are students who have said to us they will not sign up for an accelerated level class because they do not want to do the work. So if we know we have students who will not even sign up for an accelerated level class, that same type of student group of students is not going to sign up for an AP class. I mean, we have students that are clearly also doing AP, and actually this year is the highest ratio of exams to students. So students taking multiple APs. I'd love to see more kids in STEM. I'd love to see more supports for STEM. I'd love to see 15 more teachers in STEM. I think that as our student population has been declining and we have teachers that retire and resign, and we've looked at being financially, fiscally responsible, we've said, well, do we need to replace this teacher, or can we, still keep things moving forward and doing what we can do? I think we've been doing a good job of that over the years. I mean, if we could have a classroom of 10 kids in every single science and math class, yeah, we probably have better scores. But it's that balance, right? It's the balance between serving all of our students, because we know not all of our students are AP students. We have students that, this just isn't their thing. And we're trying to provide as much opportunity for all of our students. We feel like the breadth of courses we offer at the AP level, really fits the needs of kids, because for the most part, kids are signing up for almost all of them. So I would not advocate for decreasing the number, but that's just me. I mean, I think we have to expose our kids and give our kids the most opportunities to take classes.
Mark, if I may, you might not be able to answer this, so I understand that, but barring scheduling conflicts, are you aware or able to answer as to whether or not there are not opportunities for students to take an AP class that they want to take? So do you believe that we're offering the opportunities for students to take all of the AP classes that they want to, barring, any scheduling conflict like you had illustrated between orchestra and taking AP US history? Are you or are you not hearing that, hey, I wanted to take these AP classes, but we're not offering it?
Yeah, I think, there's a couple that there's really only 2 that I can think of that have been sort of talked about, or the possibility. One would be psychology. And we've had a couple of students who actually take the psych exam just, sort of on their own. We've had students who take the Calc BC exam on their own. The other one would be music theory, AP music theory, that the music department would love to offer. Those are really the only 2 that strike me as, we've had interest in the past. I'm trying to think of any others that, there's a different set of the physics ones, but, the way that we're running the physics, that's sort of the standard. Can't really think of any others that would fall into that category.
Thank you.
Yep.
But there are, I know, a number of students that I've spoken with that take 3, 4, 5 AP classes, especially during their senior year.
I know, but that number of students is too
Diminished.
low.
Yeah.
Too low, way too low for a district this size. I do want to give kudos to your your English language and composition teachers, computer science, and
They kill it.
also, there was, physics.
Physics too.
Yeah.
They kill it.
They do. And,
Assuming that's more than one student taking it.
well, that, it might only be, yeah, 100%, that's, yeah. And I know
Well-
there was only a couple taking that at that time.
Yeah, I mean, the computer science is less than 10. English, lit is a fair number.
There's a
That's-
lot,
Yeah,
lot
that's
of
a-
those
that's a-
students, yeah.
Excellent.
There's one of the English, and I forget whether it's Lang and Comp or Lit and Comp, we actually running 2 sections of that. Physics, there's usually 1 section. It's usually Physics 2 is usually a very small group. I mean, those kids they do Physics 1 as a junior, and they have to have done accelerated physics as either, as a sophomore, basically. So these are kids who are getting through, they're doing the Phi-Sci Bio as a freshman, they're doing Chem Physics as a sophomore, Physics 1 as a junior, Physics 2 as a senior, and that's, I mean, it's a very small percentage of kids that are getting through that.
And I was in that sophomore class a week and a half ago.
Oh, yeah, with Mr.
Broad's integrated physics chemistry class.
Great stuff happening in there.
Awesome stuff.
And the chemistry AP exam is notoriously difficult.
It is probably one of the
It's
hardest
most-
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they actually had to make it easier after.
Yeah, it's,
It's ridiculous. Yeah. No, I know, seen it.
I think we've got this then. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks.
This is an informational thing, so thank you. Next agenda item is warrant articles.
These are our draft warrant articles that have been updated with the information that we have to date.
So,
Do we need to do recommendations tonight?
that's it, yeah.
No, we don't need to do those. We can do those after the public hearing.
Yeah, because your public hearing is the 12th. and so-
Or after deliberative session even. We don't need to do those tonight. There's no point in doing it tonight because we're gonna have to redo them.
Right.
Yeah, I
But we
would,
do need to ratify.
we need to ratify the bargaining agreements, but we don't need to vote on these.
I got my R's confused.
Sorry.
There you go.
Man, ratify.
And
Something.
the only question I have, and this is probably on number 16, to acquire and install ventilation, roofing, and energy-saving equipment, is that going to cover us on that? Is that the language that we really want to, do we run that by council or EEI to make sure?
Where are we?
16 right here.
Article 16.
Last one.
He has them.
Let's just, I just don't want to get in trouble
You don't wanna be
later
too
on down the
long-winded.
line where we inadvertently left something out. If you could just make sure, there might be a better way to word that. I just don't know.
I think this is the language that EEI shared with us.
Oh, it is?
One of the
Yes.
districts,
Okay, okay.
that have passed. But we can definitely add.
Yeah. And we had questions about that
Yeah.
because of the specificity of the language that they actually used, that they had said,
Yeah.
here's what we've used in previous districts, and we thought, couldn't we be more general? So we will find that out for sure.
Okay.
Warrant.
You'll notice that Article 9 does not have any costs. That's the collective bargaining agreement for the teachers. We are still in negotiations with TTA.
Okay.
We're getting awful close to our drop dates. What is our drop dates?
We have to finalize the warrant by January 10th, which means the board is going to, if there is a TA with the Teachers Association, we are going to need Brian to schedule a special meeting for Monday night
I think
in
we
order
should,
to ratify.
I think we should figure, Kelly, on posting a meeting right for Monday night, right now, so that way if
Right.
it's posted if needed.
Gives you the 24 hours.
Post it as a special meeting
Yeah.
This is all puppet show.
with just one item on the agenda, which would be ratification of the TTA agreement. Right,
And then
so
obviously, if there's no agreement, you'll be canceling the meeting.
Or union contract, right, right.
Because we have all of the others.
We'll ratifying the others
Ratify
tonight.
those tonight, all
Right.
right. I was just wondering what the actual drop date
Yeah,
was.
the warrant has to be finalized by the 10th, correct?
Yes.
So the 9th is the last day we could do it.
It really feels good not to be involved in any of this year. Sorry.
All right,
Hate to rub it in, but it does feel
move
good.
on.
School calendar.
So Brian and the team, there's an executive summary in your packets specific to the school calendar. I'll kind of quickly walk through and review some of the major portions of it for you. The major impact is House Bill 1661, which essentially is requiring school districts that have CTE centers in their communities or outside of their communities to engage in calendar discussions with them at the district level about having no more than 10 conflicts for students between both organizations over the course of the school year, and this was in effect in July 2022. That prompted us as a team to join with sending schools and our regional centers with Pinkerton and Salem to have kind of a work group session around how are we going to kind of get that done. Creating a calendar is difficult enough. Now we're involving other districts in that kind of conversation. Those conversations were well. We came away from that with this type of proposed calendar, and they are doing the same on their end. The essential thing to understand is that there are 3 full professional development days by contract that fall inside of the school year for us. You'll see those reflected in the calendar. The big thing to note is that in the past, generally, we had a professional development day here in Timberlane earlier in the year, in November. The last 2 school years, that was moved into the September. And although we understand there was some conversation, I think at the last board meeting or maybe the board meeting prior, that there was concern about November itself, we are recommending that it stays there. It is voting day. It impacts the district's ability for us to align. So it increases our alignment with them if we can remain there. We understand the concern, but we don't see that changing down the road for those districts that serve as voting centers in their community.
Wait a minute. There won't be any voting. Wait a minute. March? No.
No, November.
November.
There's no voting.
Every 4 years, there's a presidential election. So
Is it in 20, this is
24.
23, 24.
24 there is. Next.
But that wouldn't be.
No, we understand, right, and that was the conversation at the last school board meeting, concern being that, how many days are we going to not have school in the month of November? Which I guess, up until a couple or a few years ago, 2 years ago, we did have the November Professional Development Day on November 7th. Then moved it to.
But this is 2023.
Understood.
So there's no November election.
Understood. However, the school districts to which we are trying to align for CTE do have a November 7th Professional Development Day.
Okay.
So understanding that,
All right.
we understand
So it's not
our
election,
board's concern is the number of days that we don't have students in school.
I understand now.
in
Okay.
November. Okay.
Now I get it. But I'm like, wait a minute, we're not voting.
Well, and just especially that week, because they're gonna go to school on a Monday, have no school Tuesday, go to school Wednesday, Thursday, and then be off Friday because it's observing
Right.
Veterans Day.
Yeah.
But I
lot
understand.
of
Thank
districts-
you
Nothing we
for
can do
looking
that's-
into that and at least addressing it.
Right.
And then the other big change would be under ER days. There has certainly been an increase on the required professional development or training that staff need to undergo in public schools. It is eating into the time that we are able to engage in other professional development about teaching and learning with our staff. The centers and most of the districts around do have those ER days, so we thought it prudent to not only align with them to decrease the conflicts and get a requirement with the law, but also to provide opportunities to be able to get into the schools and have professional development that is not required training, but training that we are seeing that teachers and staff and paraprofessionals need. It's a chance for building administrators to work with district administrators in their buildings after the school day. It's a worthwhile time, and we're excited at that possibility that carves out for us to be able to hit priorities and to have time to be able to do the work that we all know needs to be done. And then you could see on the graphic there how it would shape out over the course of the year and where some conflicts that we have, I believe, 3 now that would be there, which would certainly be well under the 10. And then the calendar itself would be reflected on that last page for you.
This is an action
So
item
how many
required.
actual conflicts do we have now?
I believe there's 3.
Really confused. I know.
And I guess, Sheila, what I would say is, we're not, in all the schools, or all the districts are not entirely sure if it's a conflict. Is a conflict for us, also a conflict for another district. I think what we want to do initially is focus on our alignment to our centers, and be sure that we are within that threshold, and we'll kind of see how this plays out over the next 3 years.
But we can't have any more than 9.
10.
10.
The question is whether or not can we individually have fewer than 10 conflicts, or cumulatively as a
Oh, I see.
region?
Yep.
Are we, that we can't have in excess of 9?
Okay.
And that's, right, that's some
So
information that's not
you
yet.
could eventually come back and say, yeah, we can't do this.
No, I think what we're proposing, this is exactly what we want to do.
Okay.
Cumulatively, this keeps us under the 10 even.
Okay.
cumulatively.
With all of the other communities that are involved in the planning.
Correct.
Wow, what a lot of work you guys have done.
They can't make it any harder, can they?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's probably a little bit of an unintended consequence as far as the legislation. The legislation was really to, increase student attendance and participation in CTE programs and not have it be something that they're subject to a district calendar that prevents them from attending. But, then you craft some language and then you wind up figuring out all these other things.
So this is an action item, so we're looking to adopt.
I'll make a motion to accept the 23-24 school calendar as is.
Second.
Made second. All those in favor? Opposed?
Kim will abstain.
Kim was, okay, so we're gonna go with a 601. Dr. Farah is temporarily left.
No, it looks good. I mean, it's what you can do.
Okay.
Yell at her and tell her she missed a vote.
Okay, union contracts, action,
Well, we need her for this, right?
definitely.
Can we
So,
go yell at her?
Well, we lost another one.
okay,
Oh, no. I can't.
Both of which are needed.
hey, my fellow board members out there.
Excuse us.
Can we come on?
That's it.
We need you, Dr. Farrow. We're ratifying contracts.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
discussing union negotiations.
Well, yeah, we know that, but
Let's do that later.
We're discussing the part-time custodian.
we're in a meeting right now, so.
Mark wants Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll take Thursday. Okay, never mind.
Okay. So we have a series of contracts that we have to ratify, correct?
Yes. What's first?
First one here, looks like the.
We're doing
I have the
TM?
Timberlane administrators on the top. I don't know what
The one
everybody
I'm
else
gonna write
has.
in the order that was in our account,
Okay.
let's see.
Administrators first.
Yes.
The administrators.
Timberlane Administrators Union.
Where is this?
Brian,
Right at the top, there we go, gotcha. All right. Gotcha,
It's okay, it's okay. I showed them.
all righty.
I read through these. I read through this one. I read through all of them, by the way, and whoever worked on them, you did a very good job. Very good. They're great contracts. So that's my first hurrah.
All right.
Do you want a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to ratify the Timberlane Administrator Union contract dated October 26, 2022.
Second.
Motion made second. All those in favor? Opposed? 700.
Just want to give kudos,
Okay.
because I remember doing this. It's not fun.
Okay, next
Tim?
one's teamsters with administrative assistants, secretaries, skilled maintenance.
TAM.
So known as TAM.
Now, this is the one with the new salary schedule?
Oh, yeah, this is the one with the new, salary
Yes.
schedule.
Yeah, we-
So
it was
we're down
modified.
from 23 steps to 12. Very good.
Nicely
I
done.
like that.
Very nicely done.
That was already that.
Nice job, Fran.
Good for prior.
Salary schedule, Tam.
Nicely done.
Yeah, because that wasn't easy. That was,
Actually,
Yeah, it
they were
was-
the one that actually recommended 12. We came up with 15 and they came back, which was interesting, so. But, okay, that's great, that works for us.
okay. But
And
another
agreement.
one, well done.
Agreement, that's the important thing. That's good.
Make a motion to ratify the agreement with the Teamsters Local Number 633 for the administrative assistant, secretary, and skilled maintenance employees.
Second.
Made second. All's in favor? 700. Motion passes. Thank you. Mr. Timberlake Support Staff Union, TSSU.
Make a motion to ratify the 3-year contract for the Timberlane Support Staff Union.
Second?
Motion made second. All's in favor? Opposed? Passes 700.
And again, it's not just you guys that did all the work for it, but all the office staff, Fran and Maria and Lisa and
Yes, thank
everybody who was involved. I thank you all, because it's a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
It's a lot of time, a lot of work.
You know, I would echo what you just said about all of our staff, thank you.
Yes.
And for the board members, thank you all so much, because it's all completely volunteer time.
It's exhausting.
It's an
It's a lot to keep
incredible
a hold
amount
of.
of time that have gone in, are still going into with TTA to reach an agreement. So we're very grateful for all of your hard work and commitment to that. It's been extraordinary.
It's been a lot.
Just the number of unions that we have is extraordinary compared to most places. So.
Okay, administrative report.
First or second?
First or second?
I'll go quickly, sure. New Hampshire All-State Guitar. We will have a number of students, a great number of students participating in the music festival this weekend. That's Saturday. So congratulations to all those students that are participating, and that will be capped off by an evening performance at UNH in Durham. Athletics, check out the athletics page. Believe it or not, spring sport registration is already open. So, get right on that, because that requires all those things like physicals and whatnot. But in addition to check out all of the many happenings with regard to this weekend, there is a swim meet, there's gymnastics, there's hockey, there's indoor track, you name it, there's something happening in athletics. Some are at home and some are away. Check those out. The Budget Committee meeting, public hearing on the proposed budget for 2023-24 or fiscal year 24 is Thursday, January 12th at 7 p.m. in the PAC. Please join us. Monday, January 16th, getting out there a little bit ahead, but Monday, January 16th, there is no school, just a reminder for everybody, and that is officially Martin Luther King Jr. Civil Rights Day. We did have some questions as to what is the actual title in New Hampshire. I've done the research, and it is actually combined. It is Martin Luther King Jr. Civil Rights Day in 2 states, in New Hampshire and Arizona, for those of you that were wondering. Sad news to report that just prior to the holidays, Elaine Brasseur, who was a Timberlane School District employee, passed away. So our thoughts and prayers are with her family.
Sympathy to her family.
Yeah, so, and as I understand it, Elaine was once the secretary to the superintendent, and also worked in one of our libraries, but also worked in North Andover schools and things. So she was a longtime person that was committed to supporting the education of kids. So again, our thoughts and prayers will remain with her family.
It's a shame.
That's it for me.
2 points of data to share with the board, and then just welcoming a new member to the Timberlane community. And the December board meeting, we highlighted something that we did, kind of led by Sandy. We had all of our administrators together. We went through a data dive for the New Hampshire SAS, kind of modeling that protocol of predicting, observing, interpreting, then we're coming away with some conclusions. Wanted to follow through and kind of see where that work kind of led. So building administrators left that meeting with their building data kind of in hand. And then a district team followed up, and I think we just completed our last one today, Sandy, at Atkinson, spending about an hour and a half with the building administrators and district administrators and listening to them report out from their own data dive with their administrative team, which then kind of leads to two different things. There's some individual things that buildings can kind of work on. Then there's also some things we're hearing at the district level that we can bring back to our team as we're planning for everything from personnel to class selection to talking about professional development for staff, and it's all focused on that New Hampshire SAS information. So really liked what Sandy had done about being very time sensitive to it, very on point and structured, modeling that for the administrators, asking them to go and practice on their own, and then following up with them with really deep conversations about their building data and what can be done at the building level and how we can support it at the district level. So completed that last one today. The second point to report out data, I know we are continually to look at our discipline framework and how we're moving through those things with students in our schools. So wanted to report out some numbers tonight, and I will continue to kind of monitor those and inform ourselves of practices about where we're focusing on teaching and learning. So across the Timberlane School District, we've had 149 instances of out-of-school suspension thus far this year. That equates to 420 student days outside of the school district. That's kind of broken down into two categories. At the elementary level, we're looking at 27 days resulting from 20 different incidents. And at the secondary level, we're looking at a total of 393 days resulting from 129 incidents. So it's information now, but it should be directing us and being able to monitor in terms of how we continue to provide support for students, all students, regardless of the decisions that they're making. So we're going to continue to talk about it as an admin team, both philosophically about how we feel about suspension and whether that is working toward the degree that we want it to, but also maybe brainstorming some other ideas in terms of how to serve a need in that way as well. The third thing, I just wanted to welcome Jenny Graves to the district. She's going to start as an intern at Sandown Central, and we really wanted to lift up and raise up Courtney Pilcher, who is the employee here that's going to take time and kind of model for her and allow her to kind of get that first entrance into the school. And Sheila, to your point, we hope that she's high quality, that she's got a great experience here, and can continue to perhaps serve the district kind of moving forward. So welcome to Jenny. She'll be starting with us on January 9th.
Fantastic. Question. These numbers are great, but I think what I was looking for was at the high school, how many were vaping? How many had weapons? How many had fights? How many
We can break that down.
were bullying?
Yeah, you said incidents. It would be good to have some details.
Because to me, the vaping, well, I know we have a no smoke, this goes back to 1964 when I was born, smoking in the boys' room. That's not as big of an infraction to me as weapons. I'd like to know, and I can't imagine elementary having vapes, so I'm going to knock that out. And do you get what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure out how much of an infraction do we have to suspend a kid in elementary school? So
We can certainly categorize that.
I will believe anything you give me, but I just would like to know what the instances were.
Sure.
If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Absolutely.
Because I think some are worse than others. I don't know.
And in light of what Sheila's saying, because I agree, I would like to see the breakdown of that too, is, in the administrator's purview, which of those out-of-school suspensions, as that's the only model we have, may have been more beneficial for that in-school support versus out-of-school.
Or a detention.
Yes,
Or, like,
if possible.
Yeah,
To get
It's
that,
absolutely
okay.
possible. I think we see it as like an ongoing conversation
Okay,
around
great.
how
Yeah.
to serve kids.
Right.
because I thought about that too. It's like, what happened to detentions?
And I know
What
they still
happened
happen.
to, because, I look
still
at the
have
cause and
detention?
effect.
Yes,
We do.
You do still have detentions?
yes.
We do.
Because I look at cause and effect, because if a kid is let's say an athlete, right? And they're on a team, and they do an infraction, and now they've got detention and they can't make practice, which means they can't play.
Right.
it's a cause and effect. You're making them uncomfortable now. Now it's a problem, because now you've infringed on the stuff they really love.
Which is true if they get suspended, and that definitely happens.
Well, getting suspended too, I
Right.
get that,
Yes.
but that's a day home.
No, understood.
This is prolonged in school. To me, that's worse.
No, I understand.
But I was just wondering, do we have detention still? Do we
Yes.
have Saturday detentions anymore? That kind of stuff.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep, and we can get all that data.
great.
Also on the personal report, we have, it looks like a bunch of retirement.
Can I do this?
You want to do it?
I'll do it.
Go ahead, Sheila.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the following retirements. Kathleen Krotz, special education teacher at the middle school. Lee Dano, math teacher at the high school. Kimberly DiCristofaro, phys ed teacher at Sandown North. Terry Demain, special education teacher at the high school. Leslie Gall, special education teacher at the middle school. Myra Hogan, phys ed teacher at the middle school. Kathleen Lonergan, sorry, special education teacher at the high school. Nancy McGee, elementary teacher, Sandown North. John Manella, music teacher, Pollard. Lisa Palladino, elementary teacher, Sandown North. Catherine Riley, elementary teacher, Atkinson Academy. John Secor, school psychologist. And William Yorston, science teacher at the middle school. We would like to accept these retirements and thank you very much for all your service and dedication to the district.
Second.
Motion made and second. All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0-0.
Just to point out, in case people are worried that there's a run of retirements, that by January 1st, people have to notice of retirement in order to receive certain incentives upon retirement. So just want to put that out there for the public.
Okay. Start our business, walk around the room here. Committee reports, we'll start on this side, Michael.
There was supposed to be a curriculum and assessment meeting this past Tuesday, but we had to cancel it.
Directly before this, we had policy, we worked through a number of them. A few we had to punt to get legal opinion, and they'll be coming in front of the board probably the next time for readings. I don't know if either one of you want to go into more detail. I'm just wasting time at this stage if we do.
I think it's fine to wait.
Yeah, I'd wait.
Okay.
Until they come to the board.
Also, still in negotiations with the TTA, ongoing late meetings, and we'll discuss that further.
In a non-public.
Yes.
Yep. And all I have to say, hopefully this comes to an end pretty soon, so that way I don't have to call the superintendent on New Year's Day and talk about stuff like that. So it's nice you two. Kim?
Nothing, I'll update the board on the union negotiations.
Policy met today, like Mark said, and Wellness Committee meets Wednesday next week.
Safety Committee will meet next week on the 10th.
5 more meetings.
And for the world, Schiller has 5 more meetings.
Come on, I give you the levity.
Okay, all right. Okay, I think that's the only business coming in front of the board. I think we have to go in for motion, go into a non-public.
I'm going to make a motion to enter non-public under 91A:3, paragraph 2A and C.
Second.
Okay, we need a roll call to go into non-public.
Sheila Lowe's,
Yes.
Katie Newton.
Yes.
Shauna Manthorn.
Yes.
Tim Farah,
Yep.
Brian Boyle,
Yes.
Mark Sherwood.
Yes.
And Michael Boucher.
Yes.
Okay, good night, and
Yeah, we won't be coming back
we will have to come.
publicly.
Thank you all.